Well, I did the traditional physical therapy route, worked for a lot of great companies, but at some point really decided that having a boss wasn't for me.
So today's episode is about Laura DeFranco, and we're going to talk about her journey coming from a physical therapist to a healer, and now how she's inspiring other healers to share their authentic story and really go for it.
Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Point Blank Safety Services. These are armed service guards that are all off-duty police officers. So think about it. If you ever need a security guard for your construction site, for intersection light control, lane closures on the freeways, trade shows, loss prevention, retail and bank security, wouldn't you love to have it protected by a bunch of off-duty trained officers? We all know that these guys are all looking for additional incomes to help them as they go about their career protecting our lives. Well, what a better way than to create a business, create a job that allows them to make money in their off time. So if you ever in need, check out Point Blank Safety Service at pointblanksafety.com.
Hey guys, it's going to be a fun episode today. I'm bringing you Laura DeFranco, and Laura and I have recently been introduced through conversations on social media. But man, what she does is some really cool things in the healing realm and all this stuff. So, I'm sure I'm going to poke fun at some of her stuff today, but it should be fun as we go through it. So Laura, welcome to the show, my dear. Tell me your story.
My story, oh my gosh, I knew I was going to have to answer that question. I got to start from the beginning or something stupid like that, but my story started with a degree in physical therapy, believe it or not. And I look back at that and I am so grateful that the universe put me into a healing profession, because now with all of that background and all of that practice, I'm really actually helping other healers share their stories.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's a lot in between the first part and the second part, but that's a great way to explain the story in a short bit.
So how did you get into that game originally? I mean, my mom played in that space for a little while, but she was doing it as an admin receptionist in that realm. How did you get into doing all that?
I've been an athlete my entire life. And so when I was a teenager, I thought, okay, I'm going to be a sports medicine doctor. I'm going to do this or do that. I didn't have any really big injury that threw me, and had to have PT and that was not my story. I just loved the body. I loved learning about it. I loved peak performance and the way that the body moves, and I was interested in learning more. I actually went into the career center at my high school one day and listened to a PT, a physical therapist, talk, and she was so passionate about her job. Honestly, that day I decided. I was 16. I'm one of the lucky ones who decided right off the bat.
Wow, that is pretty cool. I mean, I just go back to my days when Mom was, being a physical therapy receptionist, and I think she did a little tech work, but, going back to those times, and, so I was always in seeing somebody, because being a young guy, you're always hurting something, doing something stupid, and I'd like to say it was because I was a sports stud. No, it was probably because I was doing, getting in fights in high school and stuff, but, silly things along those lines. So you go from being this PT, physical therapist, to this whole realm you're in now. Yeah. What caused the shift and change?
Well, I did the traditional physical therapy route, worked for a lot of great companies, but at some point really decided that having a boss wasn't for me. And so, and I'm glad I figured that out, because there's a lot of freedom in being your own boss and being an entrepreneur. And I think that year, 2008, I believe, was the year I decided I needed to do some different things to, market the business. And one of them was writing. And so I started blogging, and I always knew I had a book in me even before I went out on my own with my business. Always knew that. And then one day, popping forward to 2012, I had the book idea come through me, wrote it, self-published my first memoir in 2012. And honestly, the rest is history. That writing that I was doing was a healing process. And I was figuring it out along the way. I had been a journaler since I was a teenager.
Love that.
Yeah, and just kind of woke up to the fact that writing shit down was actually doing something really good for me. And then after the book, and you got to be pretty brave to get a book about your own story out into the world for anyone who wants to read it. And so that process was transformational. And then I just kept writing after that. I couldn't stop.
So it's interesting. How did you know? I love the phrase you said you knew you had a book in you. How did you know that? Because, there's a lot of people that are aspiring to write books. Some people want to tell their stories. Some people just want to write. How did you know you had a book in you? I love that phrase.
Oh, man. I think it just from very early on, I could feel the passion of wanting to tell a story and to have people pick up the book and read those words and feel the energy of it. And I always knew that I wanted to help people heal. So I knew that eventually I would write a book about healing, but what it ended up being was more than that, actually. And I don't know, my son was 5.5 at the time that he and I started Taekwondo lessons together. And believe it or not, I journaled through the 6-year period of time that we trained and earned our black belts together when he was 11.
Wow.
So that year I thought, oh my God, okay, here's the book. And my book was called Living, Healing, and Taekwondo. And it was about that process, that 6-year period of time where we were doing things together. I was doing my healing career. I was helping other people heal. I was journaling. And you guys, do the journaling because your book is right there. Seriously.
Thank you. Journaling changed my life completely, absolutely. And she's talking about my ebook, which is called That's Not How You Journal, Jackass, on my website. But journaling has been a key integral part. Now, I want to back up just a second because here's what I heard. You took Taekwondo lessons with your son for 6 years and got a black belt. And then you wrote a book called Healing Something in Taekwondo. It's almost like an oxymoron because let me heal you while you beat the shit out of somebody. I know Taekwondo is more of a defensive. I did it for a little while as a kid until they told me my temper was too much for class.
Now, listen, you don't need to sugarcoat it. It's a combat sport. And I am a 50-year-old woman with a 3rd-degree black belt now, and I go beat the shit out of people on a regular basis to get my energy out. I need that kind of high performance physical activity. That's who I am.
Right.
I need to be able to release like that. And you know what? We do it in a safe environment. We're fully loaded with pads and protective gear and blah, blah, blah. But I competed for a long time and I know, I get it. I get that question a lot. What the hell are you doing? You're a healer and you're going to come home with bruises all over you. But it's more than that.
I've got just one crazy Taekwondo story. The one thing I really enjoyed about it, but there was a certain class that my instructor was, I don't know how many degree black belt guy, but there was another guy in class that I didn't really care for. We didn't get along a whole lot, but the instructor comes up to me at one point and goes, I need you to spar off with that other guy. and before we go spar, he grabs me by the shoulder and says, go all in. And I looked at him and he and just nodded his head, said, go all in. And I did. And I beat the crud out of the student class. Now, here's why he told me to do that. Earlier that morning, that guy had been in class, and he went off and he cold-cocked a chick in class. So the instructor stepped in, and he couldn't do anything. But if 2 students went at it, then, and pretty much Taekwondo went out the window at that point as a gig. So I don't recommend that style of Taekwondo for anybody, but, that was my experience. So why did all this lead to the healing side of things? Why was there such a need for healing? Why was there such a need for changing your thought processes, your mindset, and those type of things on your journey?
That's a great question because, not everybody picks a healing profession, and certainly not everyone picks martial arts for their hobby or whatever you call it. And both of those were parallel journeys for me in the mind, body, soul realm. It was about integrating my body with my mindset, with what my spirit and soul were calling me to do. It was so much about putting all of those puzzle pieces together. And for me, ultimately, actually being out loud in the world with my message, which I'm here today with you doing. Like, you might be surprised to hear that I was a painfully shy, severely introverted person before today. And
so the podcast fixed it all. Now we're in
exactly. We're all good. We're all good after talking to Donnie.
Nice.
But that was the journey. Really, it was about like being my authentic self and being unapologetic for her, about her, about who she was, what her message was, being seen. And, childhood was interesting and challenging from a worthiness standpoint.
And why is that?
Had a dad who wasn't good at the love thing and was mostly good at the shame kind of humiliation thing. You know what? I've come so far with forgiving people in my past, and I really believe that everything that's happened to you is for a reason. Sounds kind of corny, but it's up to you with awareness to deal with the things of your childhood and any time of your life. So I'm actually thankful to him because I wouldn't be doing what I am today if it weren't for those lessons learned.
And that's truly a beautiful thing. What amazes me about this podcast is how many times I've interviewed guests that had daddy issues growing up, right? And they had some sort of challenging thing, everything from verbal to physical abuse to sexual abuse. I mean, I've had all types on the show, and it's amazing, and this is such a tragic thing, but the people that have got to that space where they've either forgiven them or they use it as their source of strength because it's part of their journey, have done some beautifully amazing things, created some huge companies, have inspired people, have just found something in it. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people, can take their stories, tragic or not, and find some sort of, in your world, healing process to be able to embrace who they need to be to put their authentic self out there?
Well, hell, what's the other option? I mean,
well said,
honestly,
right?
Like, why do we do that? Because I don't want to be miserable every day. And listen, I was miserable for a lot of days. I was one of those people who had checked off the to-do list of everything I was supposed to do and still felt kind of crappy and resentful. And I looked at that one day and thought, what the hell?
Right.
Like, so I was just in that search for happiness and obviously doing the check mark of, go to school, get a degree, get a great job, find a good man, get married, have kids, have a dog, buy a house, buy a nice car. And by the time I had all that stuff and realized I really still wasn't feeling happy, it was time for a change. And I was just the kind of person that was about taking that action.
That's awesome. Because a lot of people don't jump in and decide to change. They just go with the flow, never fully understanding why they're not feeling on top of the world. In my phrases, they're battling their gremlins and losing horribly.
And they don't know that they can ask for more. It's like they feel greedy doing that. They feel okay being content.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're not really going for the joy that is possible in this life. Life is a miracle. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to swear, but
cuss away. I don't care.
Oh, okay. It's a fucking miracle, life, So it's like, I feel like part of my mission is to wake people up to that.
Nice. And how do you do that? I mean, how are you waking people up?
Well, awareness is the foundation for anything you want to do in your life. And when you start to really pay attention to how you're feeling and the fact that you have a choice to switch that becomes a bit magical. And so how am I doing that? I'm doing it by guiding people back into their body. Obviously, I am a hands-on healer and I have a practice, but like I said earlier, I'm helping other healers now understand what they need to do to share their stories, feel the feelings, feel good about sharing their stories, because then they go out and help other people. Like, I love that ripple. That's
right?
the ripple. Yeah.
You know,
So,
it was interesting as I grew up reading a ton of self-help books and, self-educating, all those type of things through it. I got to a spot on my journey where I was really big into the mantra type thing. If you say a phrase or a thought enough times, that comes into fruition. As my journeys continue on, I call that bullshit. And that's just my thought process, because I don't care how many times you sit there and tell yourself you're freaking awesome and you're a badass and this, that, and the other. It does not make you a badass. It actually takes you physically taking an action to make that whatever to come to fruition. So when you're talking about healing, what are you actually talking about? Are you helping people rephrase their mindset? Are you talking about a physical healing? I mean, what is it you're doing with them?
That question is also interesting because obviously I have a physical therapy degree.
Right.
So, and nowadays I'm interested in mindset in a big way for the physical body. It is all connected. We know it's connected now. There's enough research to know that every emotion and feeling you have in your body has a physiological response inside the body chemically, right? So we know this now. It's like not a mystery anymore. So what are we doing about it? I think we're still not paying attention enough to the thoughts and the mindset. I like positive affirmation because it beats sitting around all day telling myself I suck.
Right.
So, but I totally agree with you as far as like, you better take the action then. So it's fine to say the good things to yourself, and you should say more good things to yourself. But then you need to go do what you want to be doing. You need to aim yourself at what feels good. If you're constantly dwelling in negativity and what if this happens, the doubt, the fear, the shame, and then you don't take any action because you're paralyzed by that fear, nothing's going to happen.
It's amazing to me as I continue my journey and talking with people and do the public speaking and things that I do, I'm finding more and more is it's not the negative thoughts that are kicking people's ass, it's the dwelling itself. Right?
Yeah.
People are still living something that happened to them 20 years ago.
Yep.
I always say that the reason I journal was because if you don't get those thoughts out of your head, they become stories you start living. And that's what dwelling does, is you keep dwelling on it. Now it becomes something that you start living because you can't figure out how to move past it. How do you get somebody to stop the dwelling process? Because that's one hell of a trick to get somebody to quit looking backwards and start looking forwards.
There's a lot of answers to that, and you were making me think a minute ago about that, but you have to be able to flip the switch. That's my term. And so I'm giving people tools to, you know what you got to start with? You got to start with your desire. Like, what the hell do you want in your life? So when I ask that question to some people, they're like, I don't know. And isn't that amazing, right? To be wherever you are in your life and like not really know.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? As a kid, we love that question. As a kid, we're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you're like, a firefighter, a police officer. And then you get to adulting and people say that and you're like, I have no idea, right?
Right.
Why do you think people don't know?
I think because they spent so much time following everyone else's rules, you're conditioned to think you want stuff.
Yep.
And then when you figure out that's not what you really wanted, then you're like sitting there going, I really don't know, And, everybody wants connection. Everyone wants happiness. Everyone wants love. And a lot of us want abundance. We want to be able to have the wealth and health in our lives to feel good and enjoy this miracle of life that we're living, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And I love how you started that because everybody wants love and connection. Well, love and connection starts with your damn self first.
Totally.
If you can't love yourself, then nobody else is going to. So this is really fun. Now you're working with other coaches and other healers. Why the term healers? I'm curious about that. Why? Well,
because, it's saying in my own marketing copy, hey, I want to help other physical therapists. Well, okay, that's fine. That was my background, right? But healer, everybody is a healer, y'all. Everyone is a healer. Okay. So you're either moving into the world with a healing kind of energy or you are not. And the thing is, we don't think we are healers or artists or writers or any of that. We look at our talent and our skill and go, oh, I'm not that, but honestly, we are all of it. We are all creative beings like that. So why healer? Because, it's the people who chose this particular profession to help other people feel better in their lives. That was my choice for the ripple.
No, I love the phrase, because when you think of a physical therapist, or you think of a doctor, I automatically go to this stoic white, coat, that world. And physical therapists very rarely ever wear a white jacket of any sort. But so I love this thought process of healers. I've got a chiropractor buddy of mine, and I'm not a big fan of chiropractic, but this dude is the most passionate guy in the world about, and he can tell you everything about everything about the body. It's Dr. Tanner Rodriguez, and which I'm working on getting him on the show. He keeps telling me, he's like, Donnie, I don't know if I want to be on there. You're going to bust my chops all the way through. And I'm like, of course, that's why you got to be on the show. But he would fall in that category of healer. I mean, he's really passionate about helping people, right? And
definitely.
Especially on the preventive maintenance, not the reactive maintenance.
Exactly.
All the way through. So tell us a little bit about your company, and more importantly, what's the things you screwed up along the way to figure out how to run a successful business doing what you do?
Well, so transitioning from a plain old physical therapy business to Brave Healer Productions, which is what is happening now, the transition has been interesting and not always easy. I really, the mission is to help other healers write, speak, and publish words that heal themselves and the world. There it is. Okay.
Beautiful.
And how do we do that? I don't know. It just depends on what you're doing in the world. Maybe you're writing a book. Maybe you are speaking on podcasts. Maybe you're giving speeches. Maybe you are spreading your message out loud in whatever particular way you're doing. I really feel the calling to help you do that in a way that feels worthy, good, authentic, and brave, not fearful. Seriously, So where did I screw up? Oh my God, let me count the ways. I'm constantly screwing up. You know why? Because I don't believe in failure or mistakes. I believe in those things as stepping stones. So I'm constantly screwing up. I don't know how to fucking do a Facebook ad. I don't know how to get more clients who want to write words that heal the world. This is a very woo-woo topic anyway.
Right. I'm just waiting for the incense and, the sitting around the teepee and everything else. You're healed.
Yeah. Yes, it's not like that. Really true healers facilitate a process in another human being where they wake themselves up.
Oh, I like that. So
I don't fix you. You fix you. But I just guide you, nudge you, show you some different options. And then if I'm doing my job, you're going to align with what feels good to you and start waking up on your own.
Well, I guarantee some of my listeners would wish that I would go through your services, because they say actually you definitely use some fixing, but
we're not broken. You know that, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And I love the fact that you keep throwing your authentic self out there, because people walk through life wearing masks.
Right.
They're constantly, it's like they have a sign in the front of them that they walk up to everybody else and say, please tell me what my worth is.
Right.
Please tell me who I am. How do you get somebody to put their authentic self out there? Because in my mind, you really got to get raw, with yourself to be able to have the guts to put your authentic image out there. How do you get people to do that?
That was the magic pill for me, honestly. Listen, you're born, so you're worthy. Stop thinking anything else. So,
you know what? I'm going to get that put on a T-shirt. You're born, so you're worthy. I love that. That's beautiful.
When I actually meant that and was saying it in a way that I was embodying it, that was the magic pill for me. And at this point, I am out on venues like this, platforms like this, saying this stuff out loud, saying the F word. And I know my mom's listening and she hates it when I say the F word. But
shit.
I can't be anyone besides that authentic self anymore. Do I care what other people think? Yeah, I still get that little pang in my gut sometimes if I get a funky comment on a blog or whatever, But if I waste my time and get paralyzed focusing in there, then I'm not doing my thing anymore. It's such a waste of time. So I guess one day along the journey, I figured this out and went full on. And it's felt so good ever since. How do I get other people to do that? I model it.
I like it. I like it a lot. You know, my background from the sales world, you know, as I worked with a lot of young sales reps coming up, doing a lot of training and whatnot, it was amazing to me the transformation that would happen is if we go out on a sales call, we have a great conversation, then you pull up to the place, we're going to go do a walk-in or something, and they completely would transform into somebody else. And I was always the sales guy in training, you know, as I went along, even though I was the trainer. So I would rescue them out of the sales call. Then as they go through, you know, we get done with the sales call, they're like, oh, I killed it, I crushed it. I'm like, dude, that was the worst damn sales call I've ever seen in my life. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, what happened to the person that was just sitting next to me in the car? Why did you transform into somebody else when you walked through the door?
Right.
And a lot of times they don't see it. And people are doing that every day.
Yes.
You know, they're becoming – why is it so hard for people not to put their real face forward?
Because I think you're taught to do that. You're taught to do what other people like. And you're taught that unless you're perfect, you're not going to get paid.
Oh, true.
I mean, you know, if you're after the perfection and the success on other people's terms, you will never be that self that you really are because you're always trying to be the something that everyone else says you're supposed to be. Oh my God, I'm so tired of that. I'm so tired of it. So I've been doing things a little bit differently. Is it working for me? Yeah, it's starting to work because I think everybody is looking at it going, oh my God, thank goodness somebody is, you know, finally doing this. Okay, mate. And they start to think, maybe I can be myself.
Right.
And of course you can be yourself. Please be yourself. You know, if people don't like you, they weren't meant for you.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, Sean Douglas, does a lot of public speaking. He's done TEDx talks and whatnot, but he's got a phrase that I love, and it's simply this: your mess is your message.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
The shit you've gone through, the life you lived, you know, when you have the ability to start sharing that message, you really start becoming that authentic self, and how many lives you'll touch and change by being willing to embrace that and share that story. Because no matter whatever you've been through, there's thousands and thousands of people in the world that are going through the same struggle, right?
Yes.
And going through the same thing. If you can share that story, you'll change lives.
That is exactly it. The saying I like to use for people is, what if the very pain you're afraid to share is exactly the thing someone else needs to hear to change their life for the better?
Absolutely.
You know, it's time to be brave about that. And it's okay. It doesn't make you any less worthy or weak or all that other stuff your mind is going to tell you about it, right?
Right. You know, and I tell people in one of my podcasts, every Friday I do my own show where I just go in and tell, you know, share my story or share my journey. And I talked about when I first got in sales, you know, my biggest thing is to be a killer sales guy. I thought you had to be this rock star, you know, stud, the right clothes, the right car. You know, you had to put this freaking image out there. And let me tell you, I got my freaking teeth kicked in sales because I was trying to be Fonzie. You know, when I'm not Fonzie, you know, I'm just, you know.
You just aged yourself, by the way.
Oh, I know.
I'm totally up there with you.
my young listeners are like, who the hell is Fonzie?
Exactly.
You know, but, you know, that's the trick is in everything in life.
Yeah.
Is if you take off the mask and you communicate with others with your true self, the world's going to open up for you. You know,
sure.
and they're going to embrace that. You know, I heard you say when people sometimes they comment negatively on your blogs and stuff, and just for the, you know, I think that anytime there's conflict, it creates content. So I love it when people, you know, say things they don't like, and I'm not big enough to have a whole lot of those negative comments and stuff yet, which I'm really looking forward to the day I get them because it means I'm starting to do things right.
That is exactly right. Yep. You can look forward to it.
Absolutely. So how do you handle it, though, when somebody throws you that punch in the face and says, this article is stupid, or, you know, you're an idiot, you shouldn't have written something along these lines? I mean, you're going to get it. If you put out content, somebody's going to bash it.
Yes. And, you know, we pray for our first viral blog, right? So I got mine last year sometime, and the pros and cons of having a viral blog is exactly what we're talking about. So basically someone came on there and just told me I was full of shit and this and that. And man, I'm telling you, so I did the thing that I no longer do, and I got paralyzed in it for about a week. A week went by of wasted time where I could have been writing more blogs to help people. Right. And it was the one comment, like, why do we focus on the one comment? There were so many other comments on that blog that were fantastic. So now, listen, I got one the other day because I started posting about my new book, and I am really intent on spreading the message of Brave Healing. And so I was putting little posts out, little posters, pretty posters with, blurbs about the book that my friends had given me who read an advanced copy. Somebody came on there and said, well, you're not helping anyone else but yourself by selling your book. And so my Today warrior woman was like, whoa, okay. And I actually responded. That guy a year ago, oh my God, no, forget it. I didn't touch that one. But this time I responded and I said, of course I'm helping myself. I wrote a book. How else are you going to sell a book except for sharing the message? I mean, like, really,
right?
Come on, people, And so also you have to help yourself before you help everybody else. If you are not filling up your cup and going to overflow, then you're giving from a reserves place and you will burn out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, of course I'm sharing my message. Of course I'm going to market the book. Duh.
Well, and to that point, you're doing it right when somebody says it sucks, or why are you doing it? I mean, I did one I'm trying to figure out this Facebook ad game as well. And holy Jesus, people are like, Facebook's the cheapest marketing in the world. Well, no, it's not. I'm spending a fortune just trying to figure out how to flip and do it.
Yeah.
They're like, YouTube it, Google search it. Okay, I'm doing all that, but I'm still figuring out. Well, I put out an ad where I was giving away my ebook for free, and I was just getting an email exchanges. All I wanted was their email. They got the book for free, right? Traditional advertising 101 type things. And I put, I don't know, like $20 a day towards this ad to go on Facebook. And I tell my story about how journaling changed my life, this, that, and the other. It was less than an hour out there in ad world, and this lady jumped on there in a very eloquent way, goes, you changed your life by freaking journaling. Now you're trying to get people's information so you can sell them something else to continue changing your life while making a profit off somebody else. And it was written a hell of a lot more eloquent than that. And I'm like, shit, I have to respond. And I bet you I rewrote that response like 20 times before I finally, got it back to her. But I mean, she was right. But I basically said the same thing you said is everyone's on a journey, everyone's on a place. So it's interesting where people's minds go when you try and run a business.
This is true. And of course she was right, but who cares?
Absolutely.
That's exactly what you're doing to be doing good in the world. And you know what? The entrepreneurial mindset, not everyone has it. And so when you are out there in a big way, in a much bigger way, selling things, offering products, offering services, workshops, all that good stuff we're creating, I mean, I just need to keep remembering the one person that's going to be helped by it.
Right.
And not every day I'm constantly worrying about those people who are going to make the negative comment. No way, not anymore.
Well, and I think that the negative comments come from a place, and I'm going to get zapped by somebody on this comment. I know I am, but coming from a place of jealousy on their part, I think a lot of people are wishing they could be that entrepreneur, wishing they could be that person who wrote the book or on stage. And so by belittling the person who's putting himself out there, they get some sort of feel good about themselves. They're like, haha, I got that idiot for, I called him on their whatever, because they don't have the courage to put themselves out there to go for it. It may not always be the case, but I'm willing to bet a lot of times it is.
I think it is too, but you want to know the real trick for jealousy or envy? When you're looking at somebody else who's doing something that you wish you could do, you plan on doing, you aren't doing it yet, get caught up in the energy of celebration with that person instead of trying to knock them down.
Absolutely.
It's all about energy. Congratulate them. Ask them how they did it. Become their friend. Start brainstorming with them. I mean, Think about that for a minute.
Yeah. You know, Jen Sincero in her book, You're a Badass at Making Money, which is a great read. But in her book, she talks about it. She goes, I don't want to think about the friends that are there when I'm down and going through the shit. I want to congratulate the friends that are cheering me on as I'm fucking kicking ass and taking names. Right?
Exactly.
Because that's who you should be for them. Right? You don't want to be – misery loves company, right? So you don't want to be the one that's embracing them when they're going through the shit. You want to be the person there that when they're kicking ass, you're continuing to cheer them on and run with it.
So we are talking about an up-leveled awareness right now, and this is a success champion. This is what makes a success champion, you guys.
Absolutely.
It's an up-leveled mindset, and you have to practice it every single day. It's not easy some days, but it's way more magical.
Well, and that brings in gratitude into play, you know, is instead of – because a lot of people do that comparing game. They see somebody who's living that lifestyle they think they want to live, and they start, you know, comparing where they're at to somebody who's 10, 20 years in the future of where, you know, they're trying to get to. And people are like, I could never pull it off. I couldn't do that. Give them gratitude for the 20 years they've been busting their ass to get to where they are, and embrace your own journey and run with it and go for it. I mean, it's wild.
Energy of gratitude is everything. It's everything. The awareness and the gratitude. Those are the two things. I go three things: awareness, gratitude, and then curiosity.
Ooh, curiosity. Talk to me about that. I like that thought process. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's when my mind wants to make shit up and add more meaning to something. I flip it. I do that flip the switch to curiosity instead. I wonder what I don't know about this. I wonder what else is possible here. I wonder what lesson lies in this for me. I go to the curiosity thing because that mindset also, I think, is an up-leveled mindset.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, because a lot of times we do self-fulfilling prophecies. And, you know, I'll go back to sales. You know, you have the thought process, a cold call sucks. Then you go start a cold call, and a cold call sucks, right?
Yes.
Right? But if you're curious and you're like, why do cold calls suck? What is it I don't like about them? Right. I love that thought, because now it gets you to start changing what you're looking at. And instead of embracing, you know, it's going to suck side of things, you're actually looking at it from a, you know, why is it? What can I do to make it better? You know, what could I change about it? How can I make it stronger? That's awesome.
Exactly. Plus the example of a cold call, it might just be that you flip your mindset to, you know what, I might not make a sale today, but I could make a friend that gets me 10 sales.
Oh, I like it.
So cold call, anything you want to spin on that, you know, don't worry about selling so hard to that one person. They may love you. They may not need what you have to offer, but they might know 10 people who do.
Yeah. Well, and you're talking about that up-level mindset, that up in the game, you know, I love this. Sales is nothing more than a conversation between two people. That's it. It has some sort of outcome, and you got to be okay with the no, right?
Yep.
You know, and embrace it. I tell people, hopefully you get a no today. Because if you got a no, it means you're freaking doing something, right? You're taking action, putting yourself out there.
Well, listen, in the writing and the book world, you know, you better get used to the rejections. For the blogs, you know, submitting them to bigger sites, you better get used to, and you know what I learned to do? Just say next.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I learned this early in my career when I was dabbling in MLMs and trying to play that game, and everybody does it at least once. They have a phrase in there that I've always loved to borrow, and it's some will, some won't, so what? Who's next?
Nice.
You know?
Yeah. Perfect.
All the way through it. So tell me a little bit, because I know you've got the new book coming out. You've got some workshops coming up and things you're doing. Tell me a little bit more about your world and how people can reach out to you and find more about what you do.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's bravehealer.com, you guys. And, you know, I think I commented on your page the other day. I've got so many things going on all at once all the time. I even confuse myself. But the book is called Brave Healing, A Guide for Your Journey, and it came out June 1st. It was released by Possibilities Publishing Company. And this has been a really cool journey. I did a book launch team this time. This is the 6th book I've written. And this time with the launch team, oh man, that was cool. It was cool I had 120 people on that launch team helping me spread the message.
Holy
right?
cow.
So we don't do big things in the world without help, you guys. So grab hands, right? And so I'm creating a little ebook for my peeps that's going to be my little giveaway, which is the Brave Book Launch Playbook. So I journaled through my launch every step, everything I did, all the steps that I made, and now I'm going to create something to give back to the people who were there to support me and all that good stuff. So that's going on. The book is on Amazon. You can type it in the search bar on Amazon, and I would love it if you read it and let me know what you think. It's a memoir, teaching memoir. It's got personal story, and it's got guided body awareness and writing exercises for you to dabble with. So, yeah, and my workshops are coming up in the fall. The next live workshops, Intuitive Writing for Healers, is coming up in September, and that's a 6-week live journey on Zoom, and where we'll go through those exercises, do the writing, and helping people share those authentic messages in a way that feels worthy, good, and brave. And they get their message out there. It feels good to them. They start attracting the people they were meant to serve, right? So, yeah, that's what I'm up to.
I love it, girl. I love it. I hate the word hustle, but I like your hustle.
Thanks. I know the hustle is real, right? And I don't like the word either. I think when you have a calling that's burning through you, that's the hustle, but I just align myself with that every day, and the hustle doesn't feel like work.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Here's the interesting thing about it. The main reason I think people struggle with not knowing who they or want to be or what they do in life is they flat out just haven't tried enough things.
Yes.
Right? They're stuck in the monotony or the minutia of their life versus taking some risk and going trying things out. And a great friend of mine, Dr. Stevie Don, who runs Orange Compass and Stevie Don's Inspires, also been a guest on the show. She talks about this a lot, and she talks a lot about visions and everything else. And she put a post out on Facebook the other day that I had to pipe in on. She goes, everybody should have a vision. What's your vision? And my response was, I'm really flattered or surprised how someone's vision can change, because I put out there, I said, 2 months ago, I would not have raised my hand and say I want to be one of the top podcasters in the world. And now, because I've been tasting and doing this journey in podcasting, that's now become one of my visions, is to get up there with, the Joe Rogans and the Tim Ferrisses from a podcasting aspect. But it comes from me trying something new.
Exactly.
And put myself out there. So
that's fantastic. And you can always change your mind. Remember, I think so many people get themselves stopped up because they're worried it won't work out. Well, who cares? And next, move on to the next thing. Try it out. Go for the joy, people. Go for what lights you up. Go for what turns you on, and keep trying different things until you find your thing.
Well, and that's it. I mean, go for the joy. I love that. And if it turns out that it's not joyful, go on. Do the next thing, right? And God, for the love of God, everybody, create it on the side. Keep an income stream coming in. Crazy guys like me that completely jump away from a very large partnership to go out on their own, don't do that, right? Create it on the side and run with it. This has been an awesome experience, my dear. I'm really so glad to have you on the show and to share your journey. Any life lessons along the way that you're like, people, this is something that happened to me, don't do this, or anything along those lines that you'd want to share with everybody?
Well, maybe a little tweak on that. Like, you never know who's listening, and you never know whose life you'll change because you decided to be brave and share a story you were a little afraid to share. And that happened to me about 1.5 years ago. I wrote a blog, and fast forward, that woman contacted me, asked for help, and I ended up writing a blog for her that was commented on enough times to give that woman enough hope. A suicidal mother of 5 turned into a blogger for other moms. Come on.
Wow.
Come on, people.
Wow.
Now, listen, I was just doing my thing. I was just writing my messages. So, I mean, really, like, if I could die at this point and I would know that I did what I need to do on the earth.
Absolutely.
So you just have to keep doing it every day. Be persistent. Don't listen to the negativity. Just do your thing. Be passionate. Be yourself. And someone out there needs to hear what you have to say exactly in the way that you say it.
Yeah, absolutely. And negativity comes from that person's own head trash. It's whatever they're dealing with. It is 99.9% of the time has no reflection on you whatsoever. It's them dealing with their own shit and trying to unleash it on you.
Agreed.
So, all right. Well, here's how I like to end every show, and I love doing this. A bunch of people I stump, not everybody. But if you could leave my audience with one phrase, one quote, one message that they could take with them on their journey, something they could put in their tool belt and pull it out maybe when they're stacked up against it, and they could pull this phrase out to inspire them to move forward, what would you tell them?
Oh, I think I already said it. You were born, so you're worthy.
I freaking love that.
Honestly, it was the one that was the magic for me.
That's awesome. You should seriously get those made into T-shirts.
Okay. Will do.
Awesome. Well, Laura, thank you so much for being on the show today. This was a lot of fun and sharing your journey with us. I got a lot out of this one. I really, really appreciate it.
That was a great conversation. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. I hope you were impressed by it as much as I was. Man, keep kicking ass in life. Please do me a favor. Comment, share, tell your friends about this. Every share just brightens my day. I appreciate it.